Charles, it's a pleasure to be here under your chairmanship, as ever. Can I also join others in saying how grateful I am to my honourable friend, the member for Strangford, for securing this debate and for all that he does with the All-Party Group for Freedom of Religious Belief, and to all the honourable members for their insightful contributions. I'll try to cover a number of the points that they raised. But let me begin by underlining that government's deep concern that the use of blasphemy laws undermines the right to freedom of religion or belief, the right to freedom of expression, and indeed often the right to gender equality as well. My remarks today will cover the broad spectrum of the UK's work on freedom of religion or belief, of which our work to tackle the misuse of blasphemy laws is an important part. Freedom of religion or belief is the right of every person to hold any faith or belief, or indeed none at all, and the freedom to change as they choose. It is the very foundation of a free and open society. And people should not live in fear of persecution for what they hold in their hearts or how they choose to express it. And it is for these reasons that the UK government remains committed to defending freedom of religion or belief for all, because promoting these rights is one of the UK's long-standing human rights priorities. The use of blasphemy laws that undermine human rights, including freedom of religion or belief and freedom of expression, is deeply concerning. The laws generally limit freedom of expression, and they're only compatible with international human rights law in very, very narrow circumstances. So the government regularly applies diplomatic pressures on countries that misuse blasphemy laws. This often involves private lobbying, as can be the most effective way of resolving a sensitive case or bringing about a longer-term change. Honourable members have drawn attention to the Commonwealth in particular, and we're very proud to be part of the Commonwealth Alliance. It's united behind shared values of sovereignty, democracy and human rights. In June of this year, Member States reiterated these values at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali, and they also noted that freedom of religion or belief is a cornerstone to democratic societies. Yet, despite these agreed values, there do remain countries where a person may be imprisoned, fined, or even sentenced to death for leaving a religion or for expressing a dissenting opinion about a religion. As a matter of principle, this government opposes the death penalty in all circumstances. Our position is well known to Commonwealth members, including Brunei, Malaysia, Maldives, Nigeria, and Pakistan. We do not shy away from challenging those we believe are not meeting their obligations, whether publicly or when we believe it is most effective in private. All the members here today spoke about both Pakistan and Nigeria. So can I just turn to those two countries? In Pakistan, we are strongly opposed to the use of blasphemy laws against both Muslims and non-Muslims. In June this year, the Noble Lord Ahmed impressed upon Pakistan's Minister for Foreign Affairs the need to uphold freedom of religion and belief. The British High Commissioner regularly lobbies the Pakistani authorities to guarantee the rights of all people, particularly the most vulnerable, including women, minorities and children. We strongly condemn forced marriage and forced conversion of Hindu, Christian and Sikh women and girls. This is an important part of our engagement with the government. Forcing women and girls into marriage is a serious abuse of women's rights, and it often robs them of the right to choose their own future. A number of members mentioned the Ahmadi Muslims. We remain very concerned about the reports of discrimination and violence against religious communities in Pakistan, including the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And we continue to urge the government of Pakistan at senior levels to guarantee the fundamental rights of its citizens, regardless of their belief. A number of individual cases have been mentioned, and particularly the case of Tahir Nassim. We strongly condemn the shocking murder of Mr. Nassim whilst he was on the trial for blasphemy back in 2020, and we're very clear that perpetrators of such crimes must be brought to justice. In Nigeria, the right to freedom of thought, conscience, religion and expression is enshrined in the Constitution, but blasphemy is still a punishable offence under both secular and Sharia law. The murder of Deborah Samuel in Sokoto State in May, following an allegation of blasphemy, was a barbaric and heinous act. I expressed my public condemnation at the time. I've urged the relevant authorities to ensure that the perpetrators face justice in line with the law, and I condemn that attack again today and urge again for the perpetrators to face justice. But I think honourable members may be interested to know that the Sultan of Sokoto, when he came to the ministerial conference on the freedom of religion or belief here in July, he pointed to good interfaith relations existing in Sokoto between Muslims and Christians, but the Sultan has also underlined the point that this action is criminal and has no religious legitimacy.
Mr. Shannon. Thank you very much for the strong response that I expected, but which we've got in relation to our query on behalf of blasphemy laws. In relation to Deborah Samuel, there's a strong evidential base, Sir Charles, the Minister, which is on social media. It's available. Many people have it. If that evidential base is there, I'm just wondering, again, in a constructive way, Minister, has that been reinforced to the Nigerian government to ensure that the evidential base, which we believe to be emphatic and strong, could be used not just to treat people with some minor crimes, but indeed with the crime of murder?
The honourable member makes a very strong point. As I said just now, the Sultan of the area himself has condemned this as a criminal act, and I very much hear the point that my honourable friend has raised. We condemn all violence against civilians in Nigeria. Christians have been victims of violence, but civilians of all faiths, including many Muslims, have also suffered devastating harm at the hands of extremist groups. In the case of Mubarak Bala, who, as members have mentioned, was arrested in 2020 for alleged blasphemy and has been sentenced to 24 years in prison, I've raised this case personally with the Nigerian Foreign Minister. I've stressed to him that defending freedom of religion or belief, including non-belief, is a human rights priority. We are following Mr. Bala's case closely, and indeed officials from our High Commission in Abuja raised Mr. Bala's case with the Nigerian Human Rights Commission again last week. I know honourable members have a keen interest in our broader work on these issues, so allow me to highlight three pieces of work. Firstly, we're collaborating with and influencing international partners because we know that we cannot bring positive change alone. So in March of last year, we joined Australia and 50 other countries in a statement condemning the existence of the death penalty as a punishment for blasphemy. And in July of this year, we hosted the International Ministerial Conference on Freedom of Religion or Belief here in London. And I'd particularly like to thank the Honourable Member for Congleton for the huge amount of work that she did for that conference. It brought together over 800 faith and belief leaders, human rights actors, and delegations actually from, I believe, 100 different governments, including from around the Commonwealth. The sessions provided opportunities for participants to delve into the challenges created by blasphemy laws and their impact on freedom of expression and freedom of religion or belief. Secondly, we're working actively with multilateral organisations like the International Religious Freedom or Belief Alliance, which again is very ably chaired by my honourable friend, the member of Congleton. And we're working with the G7 and United Nations to ensure states uphold their human rights obligations. So, for example, just over a fortnight ago, my noble friend, the Lord Ahmed, spoke at the United Nations. He urged the international community to call out Iran for systematically targeting members of minority communities, to press Afghanistan to protect minorities targeted for their beliefs, and to challenge the discriminatory provisions of Myanmar's citizenship laws, and to hold China to account for its egregious human rights violations in Xinjiang. Finally, we're working hard to bring diplomacy and development together on these issues. So during the International Ministerial Conference, my noble friend Lord Ahmed announced that the UK will extend the hand of partnership to countries with freedom of religion or belief challenges who are prepared to take action. That includes helping with funding or expertise to help implement legislative changes. A number of members, including the Honourable Member for Strangford, mentioned the need to make legislative changes in some areas. And we're also working with a UK-based NGO, Advocates for International Development, to match experts from across the UK with requests from willing governments about implementing changes in blasphemy laws and access to justice, gender equality, health and education. In closing, this is a complex area, but it is also an area where change is needed. I want to repeat, the government has a firm belief that no one should suffer because of what they believe or how they express their beliefs. And thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for that. I appreciate it before you sit down. Just on the point of Mubarak Bala,
Yeah.
could you say a few words on what the government has done to advocate on his behalf directly with the Nigerian government, and when is the last time that we spoke as a government to the Nigerians about Mubarak?
Thank you. As I said, I've raised this directly with the Nigerian Foreign Minister, and as I just said, officials from our High Commission in Abuja raised it with the Human Rights Commission just last week. Again, we will continue to raise this, and I will certainly let the Foreign Minister know that the case of Mubarak Bala has been raised by members from all parties in their comments in the House of Commons today. Thank you for your support on this journey.
Thank you, Minister.